I'd like to call a meeting of the October 15th Advisory Committee to order. I will take a roll call attendance vote. Melissa Sear.
Here.
Ken Fitzgerald. Here. Rob Garrity. Here. Jonathan Norfolk. Here. Mike G. Here. Joyce Carrio.
Present.
Dave Bluth's here. We have a quorum. We are planning on going through the articles tonight and taking our votes on them, determine our position. I also have some folks here who are going to make presentations on some articles items. I understand that Mike Gallagher is online. Is that accurate, Mike?
That is correct, sir.
Is there any way you can come on camera, or are you not able? There we go.
Nope. Good. I'm getting there. Oh, wait, sorry. There we go.
Yep. Yeah, okay. Mike, you and I talked earlier, and I had asked about a specific warrant article, which is the article on the Norfolk Community Television budget. We've held off discussion because I understood for a period of time it was under review and being rewritten. Are we all set on that now, or are we able to?
We are all set, sir.
Okay.
I finally have the numbers that I needed.
Earlier today, which I think I forwarded, but now I can't get my computer to work. It's Article 6. Damn.
Yeah, it's Article 6 is the article. I sent you a copy of the draft warrant.
I forwarded that to the committee. I'm just having a problem getting my computer to behave. There we go. If you could explain what this is and why we're doing it. This is a new one for us, and I think you're going to tell me why it's a new one for us.
Yep.
Please go ahead.
One of the things that I discovered coming on board was that we've been in the past having Verizon and Comcast send I guess everybody understands that on your cable bill, there's a couple of line items there for various things that are collected by the cable companies that they then give to the town for cable access. One of them is for operating PEG access, the public educational and government. The other is for capital items that the cable companies can purchase, cameras, equipment, whatever it happens to be. For whatever reason, the town had opted to allow that funding to go directly to NCTV, when in fact the Department of Revenue and the state have required now the town to accept the money because it really belongs to the taxpayers of the community, the ratepayers and the taxpayers. So that money should go to the general fund. We set up a special account in 2023 in order to be able to do that. But apparently we hadn't been having the funds come to the town. So the funds are collected by Verizon, in your case, Verizon and Comcast. Those funds are then given to the town. They go to the general fund, but they sit in a special account that is reserved strictly for PEG access. And then the town then contracts with an outside agency should they decide to do that. The towns and cities have the option to provide it themselves, or they can outsource it. So we need a contract, again, because it's over $10,000. To actually pay that as well. So I am working right now with NCTV to get the contract in place. We have the account in place per town meeting in 2023. This article is the mechanism that town meeting would allow us to funnel that money to NCTV so that they can continue to provide the services to the town. So it's kind of convoluted, but basically the money belongs to the town, shouldn't go directly to NCTV. This is more of a housekeeping procedural thing that we need to put in place to allow us to take that money and then pay NCTV to provide those services to the town because it is a separate entity. It's not part of the town. So the money never should have gone there in the first place, but it did. It's happened before in other communities. So we're just trying to fix that and um, bring it into compliance with Mass General Law and DOR guidance. So that's what that article is for, and it's $203,000 is the total amount. 188,000 of that will be for operating, and then $15,200 is for capital. And NCTV has to account for that, both of those items separately, as well as the town. So we have kind of account for those separately, as does NCTV, because they can't use capital money for operating, just like any other budget that you would have. You're not using your capital money for your operating. So that's kind of a explanation of what we're doing here. Hopefully, I did a good job explaining that. If not, please feel free, and I'll try to do my best.
That was good for me. I have a couple of questions, and then I'll ask some members if they have any questions. Will this now begin appearing at the Springtown meeting as part of our budget?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so from now on, at your Springtown meeting, as part of the entire budgetary process, this article will be included in that to approve the payments to NCTV, actually, to give the town the authority to make those payments, to accept and pay. So that'll be part of your annual town meeting.
And I don't know if you know this, but is this like a one-time disbursement to us, or does it come in monthly, or?
It comes in quarterly. So the funding comes in on a quarterly basis to the town, and then we would pay that on a quarterly basis to NCTV for their operating.
Great. Does anyone else have any questions? Melissa?
What happens if the town, for whatever reason, decides not to let the town meeting decides not to let the town pay this to NCTV?
Then NCTV will cease to exist, and we'll have to provide that service internally somehow if we want to continue to provide PEG access. I mean, we have the contracts in place with Verizon and Comcast for that. So if town meeting says no, then NCTV won't have any operating capital.
Okay, so the money would stay with the town regardless.
Yeah, the money belongs to the taxpayers, as I mentioned, the taxpayers and the ratepayers of the town. The money belongs to the town, but it can only be used for PEG access. It can't be used for anything else. It has to be used for PEG access. So if the town meeting said, no, we're not going to give it to NCTV, then we would then have to figure out how to provide that service internally, or go back to Comcast and Verizon and tell them we don't want to do PEG access anymore.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. We had some small technical difficulties. Thanks on that. Before I let Mike go, if he wants, are there any of the other articles that we discussed last week? Anyone has any follow-up questions? Well, we've got our administrator right here. Okay, good.
I don't know how to raise my hand. Can I ask one question regarding NCTV?
Yeah.
Thank you. Michael, so the funds will fall into the PEG account for NCTV that we have created. Do they have to come forward at the end of every quarter and request those monies, or are those automatically dispersed? And then NCTV will go about their expending the funds without any, I'll call it, interference with the town.
Right. So once we get approval from town meeting to actually pay that out, as soon as the checks come in, and we put them into our account, we would then transfer them to NCTV so that they can operate. The idea here is not to harm NCTV. We want to be able to provide this service to the community. We just need to do it the right way and make sure that we're not in violation of any of the recommendations of the Commonwealth.
Okay, so if I may have one follow-up on that, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Mike, is there any interruption with any of these funds now going to NCTV before we have our Maytown meeting?
The only interruption that could potentially happen here would be if we can't come to a contract, can't
Okay,
come to a resolution on the contract. And I gave NCTV a sample contract, and I know they're working with one of the best attorneys in the business to try to hone that in. And I'm just waiting to get to see what he has for changes to that contract. I gave him a boilerplate that I've used in other communities, and some of the language in there I know was a little over the top, but it was a place to start. So I'm just waiting to see what they get back. We've got to get that contract though in place so that we have the ability to actually pay it, because municipalities are not allowed to pay any invoice over $10,000 without a contract. So got to get that in place, and then we'll be good to go. But
okay.
we started the process like a couple of months ago because I knew I was coming down. This was coming up in November, so I'm just waiting to hear back from them with the contract.
All right. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Thanks, Mike. Ken, yes.
Like Article 3, I mentioned last week. So I see the budget came over from the MEC and this communication with Justin back in February. And it started at 375 and change. And then there's an email to Justin saying it came down a little bit to 365, which is what we voted on as part of the overall budget for FY26 at spring town meeting. And now there's an email in June saying, here's our final approved budget. Approved by who, I don't know. I assume the MEC board, who's for some reason approving a final budget months after everyone's done their budgeting cycle, and then the number goes up by 16,000. Is there any explanation from the MEC why they're doing this, or?
None. I haven't had an opportunity to speak to anybody there. I mean, I did speak with Bill Keegan briefly the other day, but he was just letting me know that we had an issue. Our line was down, but beyond that, I have no idea what transpired with this whole thing. But I found that whole string of emails, and I figured that would be at least interesting for the board to take a look at. But I as to why and what happened, I have no idea.
No, I'm gonna make a motion on that, I will get to it, but.
Yeah. I did notice, by the way, Mike, in the final, I guess it was the final version of the warrant, actually included that table in the warrant, which is a new step for us. Which I think is appreciated. I appreciate it, but anyways. With that, Mike, as I said, you're welcome to continue watching or go have dinner, whatever you want. Rich and Gary are here from the planning board and the planning department to go over basically what happened at last night's hearing, I think. There were a number of articles that were on for a number of items that were on for hearing, which directly impact the warrant. So, Rich, if you want to join us here, I'm going to fit here if they want. Next time I want my team close to me. Call it this mixing. You want to make it? Were all the articles up for here? I know I looked at the posting. Which ones were they? They were the trailer home, 10 and 11. Okay. Before we
we can just, do you want to talk about the project? Confirm, well, they kind of, well, let's talk about MacArthur, right? If you don't mind. Sure, confirm it, which is, yeah, so the board, so the select board referred it to the planning board for recommendation after, so the select board referred to the planning board after October 16, the planning board took it up last night. And they made the recommendation to accept MacArthur Ave as a public way by means of eminent domain, and I've spoken to the advisory committee about that before, so the government they did make that recommendation. The select board will hold a public meeting next Monday evening, October 20th. It is in this case, it is a public hearing because it's a road taking by eminent domain, so it's a hearing as opposed to a meeting. But everything was no issues in terms of last night. As I mentioned before, just to recap, the intent of this is to take it by eminent domain because MacArthur Ave is a paper street. The owner, because of the way the plan was in 1946, was predates subdivision control law, and no one person owned interest in the road, so there was multiple parties that had interest in it. I sent out letters earlier in the year saying, look, this is the intent of the town. If you have an objection in terms of waiving any damages, please come forward now. Because the intent all along was to be able to take it by eminent domain, whereby an interested party would waive the damages. So far, anyways, they understood the purpose. Some of these has come forward to say that. It still could happen, next week, or it could even happen at town meeting. In either case, then we frankly would have to punt because it wasn't, we haven't done the appraisals or anything and so forth. So we kind of put things in limbo land. Hopefully that doesn't all happen, but we did since we planned. Hopefully we don't have that outcome, but just to let you know, that would recommend.
Okay. You said it could even happen at town meeting, it could in fact after.
Yeah, good too.
Because it's the court act that triggers their rights or.
Not the court, well, when we do the formal taking, they'll get they'll get a notice to waive damages and happen, and it's like you gotta sign the dotted line, so that could happen then too, because. Again.
Generally beneficial impact to the neighborhood.
It's generally beneficial to the people up on Hunter Ave because now you have a way, so if you go up there, delivery trucks, etc., you can go up, it's a T.
Yeah.
On the car, so you can drive off, pull back and leave. Same thing with, in terms of plowing, you can go up there and plow and clear as opposed to dumping on private property. And for what it's probably worth for a little bit, folks, it actually helped because it's a little bit elevated and it drops off. So Amazon trucks and so forth aren't traveling through the woods anymore on MacArthur Ave as they used to. So now it's actually a little bit better for people who walk their dogs and walk on MacArthur Ave and not encountering it on Amazon.
So the Amazon trucks were following the paper road.
Yeah. Yeah, some did it.
I've seen funny YouTube videos on that. I didn't think it happened.
No, it actually was that. It's the front was the one that got the roadway improvement plan for the one house that got MacArthur Ave, who was building the house with. It told us that it was there. It was seen.
No, I believe it because I've seen videos of people having trucks driving in their backyard because there's a paper road there that's on there.
Where is?
It's up by the Apoplectic Font.
Oh, okay. Up it up.
Yeah. So anyway, the plan we're hoping to recommend it.
So Rich, what's the actual status and what we're gonna be taking?
The status in terms of
Is it a constructed roadway?
yes, construction is completely done. The developer did all the improvements, put the stormwater in.
Okay,
So all the work has been
It's
done.
to our standard.
Correct. It's a little funky standard because it's a T, but in terms of, the width and so forth, then drainage, there's no curbing, that kind of stuff, but.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, it's completely constructed. So the
Why
why,
would this stop people from continuing to follow the paper road though?
if you go, well, they might, anybody might,
Yeah,
but
this is gonna lead them there.
it's definitely, it drops off,
Yeah.
you know, so it's definitely not as easy to traverse it, I mean, who knows?
And that's not paved, right?
No, it's not paved.
Yeah, so they're basically going down a dirt road.
They're going down, yeah, dirt road, but it's definitely. When you get to it, you're gonna pause probably, I mean. Not gonna. Stop,
You're on some sort of
yeah,
paid by job. Paid by mission, you're like, screw this, I'm driving.
yeah, you might, not, but generally speaking, the report is that it's kind of subsided, so. So anyway, the board would recommend it, I'm gonna recommend it. The select board, in terms of the other article,
Does anyone else got any questions on it? That's okay, go ahead, Rich. Article 10, which is the, not Article 10, sorry.
So 12 is open space revolving fund.
yeah, so I know town council needs this. I got a notice in terms of some additional language, so. Maybe it doesn't make it to November 12th, we need to do some more work. Then just put it on in the spring. But the intent of it is from the open space subdivisions that have been approved by the planning board. They've assessed a one-time maintenance open space fee to the developer. Those monies have been collected over the years. It started back in 1998, come forward. There's roughly, let's say about $186,000 in there over the years. But in order to be able to spend out of it, it needs to be from the revolving fund. So at least the planning board last night, they asked, it's arbitrary, 40,000, but it was conservative in terms of the amount. They were fine with the way it was written, but council might have to.
So at this point, we should assume that if we're gonna go forward on this, we're gonna have to wait till our pre town meeting, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I think that is fair.
And if not, it's just not gonna be on,
No, it would just,
or if it appears on this, we can repeat it at that.
yeah, you gotta pay it. I mean, the money's been, only since 1998, so.
Can I ask you, actually, I can't remember if I asked this question first, because I have a lot of questions on this, but the assumption is, I'm assuming, we'll say, that this $40,000 will be contracted work, right? For trail names and stuff like that?
Yeah, this will be contracted work. I mean, I suppose. But if we had, the bandwidth and so forth to pay for it, it's a good question, I guess.
Yeah.
Cause it would be, it would have to be done direct, it would have to be directed, so it's like,
If this becomes a reality,
yeah.
I think it would be valuable for the planning board and the conservation commission to try to have a stand, find someone who's on state contract. Now, sign a contract with it, so you don't have to say, start on July 1st.
No,
But a little November, figure out what we're gonna do 6 months trail.
Yeah, the intent is once this gets in place, is actually develop a maintenance plan for different areas and then put out through an RFP process.
Oh, excellent.
And award a contract, so we have it in place to be able to do that work. It's gonna. So I think I mentioned this last time I was here, but in many cases, it's not a lot, it's maybe tree trimming, maybe some material on the trails.
Right.
However, in the instance of Bristol Pond Estates, which at some point will become. The road will become public.
Right.
The open space is under the Conservation Commission, that is more intensive, because that center island is grass and so, that one's gonna chew up money, honestly.
You mean, when you say grass, the Concom's responsible for maintaining a lawn?
Yeah, part of it's lawn.
That's ridiculous. Go ahead, sorry, I just think it's a DPW job. In a sense, but.
Well, I mean, so, DPT,
No,
I get to the.
I don't wanna, I didn't wanna get into details, that's my, So that's what-
So I noticed you have expended under the direction of the planning board in brackets. Is
Yeah,
there a conversation to make this under the direction of the Conservation Commission since they're already doing open space elsewhere? And just have one town body doing open space maintenance, not two?
I think that's part of what we talked about.
yeah, it is, it's just they would be kind of gatekeepers of the money, since they're the ones that elected in terms of the permitting process. We talked, and maybe that might be a discussion point with council, where maybe we could just have it pass through to the Conservation Commission.
Making sure that they don't spend it on other things that weren't generated in OSRD.
Yeah. No, right,
What it's called.
yeah, no, you're right, yeah. All right, so. Let's get right to any comments.
No, we discussed similar ones, that's the rest of it.
Anyone else have any questions on this one? Okay,
We did then we go to 13, you know.
that's 13. Yeah, 13 is what we're at, yeah.
Yeah. So the planning board did vote it as recommended. You have that one. Tonight?
This is what Mike sent us today. So-
Yeah, okay, all right. So I think when I was here last time, I think you had different.
We had a evolving version, yes.
Yeah.
Is this the correct version?
This is the correct version.
Okay.
So what you might have not had was the last, well,
It's not standing clause?
yeah, so that was added in because under Mass General Law, there is a provision for mobile home in terms of fire or natural disaster, actually it's all of us, talked about last time, but we have disaster in the way where they're bylaw. Up to 12 months. So the council reviewing says we need to keep that in there because we want to be in conflict with state law. So that's why it was added on the end. It's kind of embedded in there. In the previous, if you look through the body of it, we do have it in there, but we were striking it all out. So to be clean, you just put it at the end of that.
Yeah.
Paragraph. And I think we already talked about the intent of this.
Yes.
So
So you're setting up a two-step rule.
yeah, it's a two-step. Yeah.
If you wanna rebuild your house, you get 6 months. If your house was burnt down or other natural disaster, you get 12 months.
Yeah.
Is 6 realistic in today's construction world?
But there's a clause in here that we could extend it.
Could extend it, yeah.
If the building commissioner.
But the commissioner
For reasons.
But if it's for reconstruction, it's incumbent upon the homeowner to make sure it's in place when they start the process.
And my owner has never had a builder come to him and say, I gotta take 2 weeks.
I understand what you're saying, but I mean,
And then we're leaving it up to the discretion of some appointed official somewhere instead of like, what's the problem in 12 months? Right, when having the house we rebuilt, why do we, please. What's the major catastrophe we're avoiding by
Having
buckling down on these people? Why not just leave it at 12?
The intent really to buckle down is to keep people moving along, so they stay on their contractors to keep things along. You could have an RV sitting in your neighbor's yard for an extended period of time. So it's essentially keep things moving, not to be prolonged.
But we're assuming then that people would prefer to live in an RV rather than
There's
proper house.
there's been a couple, I would say. I'm not sure they really preferred it. It just was
But I'm certain they didn't say to their contractor, hey, don't do this today. Please slow down. I don't want to get back in my house in a reasonable amount of time.
no.
I mean, we did discuss this earlier and. Why 12 or why 6 instead of 12, why 12 instead of 18, it comes down to. There's gotta be a pragmatic balance between how long you let this go by law or, by right before people are gonna start getting on the phone and calling town hall and saying, hey. This RV's been sitting in my neighbor's yard for now 8 months. And if there's not proper justification for it, you do want the ability to move that along. I think 6 is, to your point, it's a tight window for some construction projects, especially larger ones.
Happens in November.
Exactly. right? Or
I
big,
can't go
big
big.
rainouts in May, right, or like
Don't
late
start
season
the
rain in
problem.
June.
My house has been collapsed by a tree. Well, that's an
That's what disaster rock.
So you get to go.
It's a reconstruction project, it starts on your mark, not on anyone else.
Dave, the last major construction you did was like a decade or two ago.
Yeah, and it took 3 months.
Yes.
And my neighbors who are having.
I would posit that the market's a little different nowadays.
Yeah, you know
It's
what?
harder to get people to do stuff.
And if I hadn't been living in the house, it might have taken 6 months, but I was living in the house and they wouldn't keep my kitchen shut down for a month.
But if there's a good faith reason why construction can't be completed, that's just a trick to the building commissioner and, get the extension.
Have you had a major? We'll take this outside later on. Jonathan.
Just an adjacent question, I recall we discussed this maybe 2 meetings ago,
Yeah.
forgive me if I'm repeating the question. Is there a bylaw preventing someone from just parking or being in their driveway full time?
You did ask this question, I think.
No, you could park.
Okay, so if you can park an RV in the driveway. Is the neighbor gonna really call town hall because someone's in it as opposed to someone not being in it? Is that really what's driving this?
RVs are different than trailers. One of my neighbors had a fire legitimately, and they had a trailer sitting in their front yard. Mobile home, yes. I know, yes, a mobile home sitting in their front yard for more than a year, so.
To answer your question, you had an RV on your property.
Yeah.
You were there for a while. Yeah, we would get a call.
But it's not illegal or against any bylaw, you could just park the RV.
No, there isn't. But if you're
But I
like,
can't spend a night in it.
no, you can spend a night. There's some,
This doesn't say that. That's the issue with this is how this is written, occupancy is not defined.
right,
The lack of definition of occupancy, you've now added, I'm sorry to hijack this, but this was my point last time.
no,
You inserted a vehicle into a zoning bylaw, so now you're excluding a certain type of vehicle by right. And you're not defining occupancy, is occupancy, do they have the electricity plugged into the house? And they go inside it to wash some dishes, now they're occupying it, it has electricity, they always have the electricity plugged in, keep the batteries charged. Do they have the water connected to it, because they're filling their water tank and they step inside it? There's no definition of occupancy, so I know down the street from me, there's a family that has a camper they use during the summer, but the kids play in it, they go in and out of it. This now invites the nosy neighbor to call and complain, and by right, they'll be in violation of this. I just don't see where the planning board and zoning decide to start going into the realm of recreational vehicles. If it's registered, if it's insured, if it's valid to be on the road, they can tow it somewhere or drive it somewhere. Seems to me to be sort of out of the purview of a zoning bylaw. And it just seems to be a recipe for litigation, because somewhere in town, there's someone that doesn't like looking at the neighbor's RV. They're gonna call and complain because the kids are in and out of it. I know the house, 4 houses down from me, and the kids use it all the time. Doesn't bother me, but it bothers someone. And this it's gonna invite litigation and headache, because we don't define what occupancy is. Is it 1 night, 2 nights, 10 nights, or is it doing dishes in there?
We
There's
have
no
to
definition.
find home occupancy elsewhere.
That's not a home, it's a recreational vehicle. You've got to define it, you're writing a law, words have meanings.
But the implication would be, right, because this is downstream of that occupancy, when we're talking about home construction, trailer homes or mobile homes would be home occupancy.
But only if it's capitalized. If a term is capitalized in the bylaw, that refers to a definition, it's not in this
Used to be on the.
yeah, it's not capital.
one. I'm showing my age.
Yeah, but, the temporary homes on receipt of approval from the building commissioner, yeah, somebody can do that. You know. Anything can happen, right? I mean, I drive down the road, I'm going too fast, I get pulled over, I don't get a ticket, I get let go, right? So,
Alright, alright, let's not.
I just think recreational vehicles needs to be stricken from this, and then the rest of it makes perfect sense.
the reason why it's in there is because people aren't doing that, because they need to be able to provide it, so otherwise they would have to. In this instance, they would have to vacate town, take the kids out of town, and they'd have to, so it was something they were able to be able to do, and it kind of made sense.
I think what Ken is saying is, if you take RVs out, mobile homes is a different animal than an RV, the mobile homes don't move.
I totally understand it, they use an RV, So that's why, but that's an option.
But they could have an RV on their house for
That was the
12 months,
you
they're allowed in town.
It's not illegal to have an RV on there.
RV 24/7, 365.
It is without this provision of violence.
That's
I
not,
can park in RV.
Absolutely not.
I can wait for the next.
They're occupying it to live in it.
Say them occupying it.
Well, we said this, if your neighbor's a zoning enforcement
The
officer,
building inspector can.
So
it's gonna
that's
benefit.
right, so, okay, I'm a little crazy.
You know what, guys,
Inviting a lot of mischief.
I think we get the point you're trying to make. I think what's in front of us has been voted on by the planning board. We have to vote on this.
Yep.
if you don't recommend it, that's fine. So if,
We could do this till we're blue in the face. And right now, this is what we have to do, so I'm just. I get your point, you raised these points 2 weeks ago. It was not addressed during their hearing. We didn't go there, we should.
so the two more recent instances in both cases in town, they have recreational vehicles that they were occupying while the houses were being renovated.
So. Make sure that you recognize that the word occupy, if it is written. As we were discussing, is it applicable to recreational vehicles or is it residential occupancy or something? That would be an interesting question for us to know the answer to.
Yeah.
Does it apply to any structure on the property that's being occupied for residential purposes, or is a permanent build? Permanent accepted building.
Yeah.
Because there's obviously occupancy issues related to fire and safety in an RV that don't exist. Access and egress and all those kinds of things don't exist in permits. You could climb over the driver's seat to get out the front door, there's fire, the problem. But anyways.
I can look at the stats that would admit it.
Well,
And that's a legitimate end to why you would regulate such a thing.
thank you. Welcome, came out of nowhere. I don't necessarily want to debate this anymore, unless folks want to hear the answer to what Rich is looking up relative to the definition of occupancy in our bylaws. While Rich looked at his gloves,
Actually, can I have a question?
sure,
Was there any testimony about Article 13 at the hearing?
No,
should have done Rob.
Nobody wants that.
there's not a definition for occupancy in the zoning bylaw.
So it's some sort of state definition.
Hall occupancy, listen, don't we?
Well,
You have to look at the,
Yeah,
you have to get an occupancy permit, that occupancy, are we issuing occupancy permit for mobile homes?
so in terms of the intent of occupancy here is that you're occupying, it's not an occupancy permit. Occupied with a recreational vehicle. You don't, not gonna give you
Rob, I'm assuming you don't get an occupancy permit for a trailer.
Well, no,
A trailer. No, that's what you.
I don't know.
I don't know if they connected to, if they could get the power line dropped from the power company and water and septic, I think that might,
You need to look at that.
yeah, that's different than. I just think there's an issue with putting the term recreational vehicle in there for, it's,
Right.
I think it's going to invite unwanted litigation at some point, when somebody gets that $300 a day ticket and they end up running from district court and.
So recreational vehicle is defined. The vehicle which is built on a single chassis, 400 square feet or less, measures a large horizontal projection. Designed to be self-propelled, permanently towed by a lightweight truck. Designed primarily for use as a permanent dwelling, as a temporary living, designed primarily not for use as a permanent dwelling, but as a temporary living quarter for recreational, camping, travel, or seasonal use, U.S. Code of Federal Regulations, Title 44, Part 59.
Seasonal use kind of.
That's the federal CFR definition, that's not the town of Norfolk's definition.
Yeah, but we don't have reference, we
Yeah,
reference.
that's good reference.
That deals with the seasonal stuff with the kids in and out of those. But it doesn't necessarily, but anyways. The other article we want to discuss tonight is Article 14, which is the inclusionary zoning change. Peter Diamond, who was the original proponent of the article that created the SYA table. I asked him if he wanted to talk to us. I actually think I'd like him to go first. But you guys have given us your pitch on this.
Yeah.
Peter, if you want to find a place at the table, let us know what you think of the article. Great.
Well, first of all, I'm Peter Diamond, 84 Seacon Street, Norfolk, Mass. I am a member of the Norfolk Municipal Affordable Housing Trust for less than a year. I'm also on the CPC for 7 or 8 years now. I am a big proponent for affordable housing in Norfolk. I think Norfolk needs more affordable housing, whether it be ownership or rental. We don't have much rental at all in Norfolk. So I don't know if anybody watched the hearing at all last night, but my testimony took probably about 45 minutes. So
You can summarize it.
I can sum right. So
You gotta vote on all our articles.
right.
But
So I'll go through it just briefly, summarize it. It has been said that the reason to go back to 10% is because the inclusionary zoning bylaw I have has created 40B projects. And so instead of doing the traditional subdivision, developers are doing a 40B development, which is a comprehensive permit. I'm sure well aware of that. And some 3 examples were Cranberry Heights, Pondville Crossing, and Pondville Station. And my argument is that those 3 properties went 40B for more than just the inclusionary zoning bylaw. They do it for other reasons, for example, to have a longer road, more density, and a whole host of Norfolk bylaws that they can circumvent to do a development. For example, Boyd's Crossing had 3 dozen waivers. And I think the other example I gave was Lakeland Farms had 4 dozen waivers from our local zoning bylaws. So I just didn't feel it was fair to say to the people in Norfolk that the reason to roll back to 10% was because that it's creating 40B development. And on that note, I pointed out last night there are 8 40B projects in Norfolk that were developed before at our 10%. They came forward: Boyd's Crossing, Lakeland Hills, the Village at Norfolk, the Enclave at Village Green, Residence at Norfolk Station, Lakeland Hills, Waits Crossing, Whitney's Way. That kind of sums up a lot when I went through last night. See. And in my opinion, I don't think the change back to 10% will have any impact on or deter 40B development in Norfolk. There's not much land. So what land they have, the local bylaws that we have in Norfolk doesn't allow them to do what they want to do and make a profit. So I think they're going to the 40B comprehensive permit to do these developments that we do have here in Norfolk for many reasons. And one of them I pointed out last night was because wetlands are a factor in many of the developments that they're trying to do. Like down at Village Green, we had some issues. Boyd's Crossing had to come between 2 ponds. The one on Cleveland Street had some wetlands, some issues up at Seacon Street with some wetlands and so forth.
Peter, go.
Yeah,
Just to clarify, what
go ahead.
conservation, wetland laws are not waived by 40B.
Well, what is,
Nor
used is
specified.
the state wetland laws are used and they're less restrictive, so I think they allow 25 feet as close to wetlands, or zero, so you can go right to wetlands, Rich, is that what it is? And I think Norfolk has a 50-foot do nothing zone. No touch, yeah. 50-foot no touch zone, so in going with the 40B route, there's much more leniency with regard to wetlands.
It's not, it's zero to the border, it's not zero to the wetlands itself, it's zero to the border.
Yeah, I guess.
Right, I just wanted to make sure, it's been a little while. And Title V doesn't give way to either, no density issues relative to septic or limitations.
Yeah, no more than 90 bedrooms.
You can't go zero. You're not quite zero, but
You've got a limitation.
yes, but in the boarding vegetated well, when you're not in that boarding, the 100-foot buffer, you can get up to right at the edge of the well.
With a lot of it.
Yeah, no,
Right, it's all of it.
yeah.
And, one of the comments last night that I went home and it didn't swallow it well was that I created this inclusionary zoning bylaw that we have on the fly. And I spent a lot of time doing research and seeing what other communities do. I provided a lot of examples where developers in the area were circumventing the 10% rule. For example, building a development with 9 houses, which is Billy Nichols Way over there, the other side of town. That's one example. There's one at the end of Medway Street where we built 9 houses. So there was a lot of research. I showed a lot of examples. And one example, I could explain, if you do 10% on 14 houses, if you do the math, you actually end up with 7% because the 4 units go into our housing stock, but we're only getting 1 unit at 10% on 14 units. So my table was not to get us to 10%. It was trying to keep us going on an even keel as development happens. And I do recognize that building houses now cost a lot more than it did back in 21. Back in 21, the median price for a house might have been 6 something. Now we're over 800. You can't find a brand new house in Norfolk for less than 800, and they're going for $1 million. In these 40B projects, they're going for over $1 million. And that's where my cry is for more affordable housing, and anything that we can do to get more affordable housing, I'm in favor of, and that's why I'm not in favor with this, because I feel that it's less of an impact to get more affordable housing. And that's the part on the inclusionary zoning bylaw. And the other part that I picked up on late is the payment in lieu option now applies to rental units. And so I really didn't see any discussion on that, and the 3 planning boarding meetings that I reviewed back to July, August, and September, there really wasn't any discussion on why that came up, why that was added. There wasn't any discussion at your last meeting here at the advisory board on why rental units was added. I just don't see the need to have that language in our zoning bylaw, because we need rental units, and if we're going to accept payment in lieu, we're losing that rental unit in perpetuity. It would be a rental unit. It's affordable for as long as it's in Norfolk. So that was my opposition to the payment in lieu. I'll pause there if there's any questions. That pretty much sums it up. I'm sorry.
Can you point out where that is?
New line.
Can't know the number for it. Subsection, right? Division nothing. No, I see, I got it.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions for Peter?
So actually further on to Michael's. How does the change include payment in lieu where it was not include rental units where it wasn't included before? I just want to follow what the change was that actually did that.
The change was that before it didn't apply to rental units, so you couldn't take payment in lieu. And now the new proposal, you look in the draft, the strike through. The rental units.
Okay, oh, yep.
See the strike?
Second paragraph.
Yeah. So the bylaw, the bylaw before payment in lieu was not allowed for rental units.
But that's only rental units developed under, I'm sorry, dude.
Go ahead.
That's only rental units developed under this bylaw, not under 40B.
Correct.
So my follow-up question is, have we actually had any developments built under the inclusionary bylaw that are over, 12 houses?
Well, there was one right as our bylaw passed up on Hill Street, the Hill Street condominiums. There's there 18 up there, so he would.
That down in Tondo?
In Bob, yeah.
So what the problem with that project was is he didn't do a special permit and the timing of my bylaw passed. Public hearing happened before he even applied for a special permit. So in reality, he should have provided 15% of the 18. But there was a hearing at the planning board where they granted an exception because he missed the time.
He was in the middle of the process when the bylaws.
His development was approved, but he didn't do the special permit process in time.
Yeah.
That was the only development that since then it's just been 40B developments.
Rob. So Peter, I agree with you about this. Okay, about keeping the inclusionary bylaw. I'm just afraid we're at the point where there's not going to be any large scale development that isn't 40B anymore. Because we've developed everything that is conventionally, A&R ready development. It's
Right.
all,
And the planning board recognized that last night, that they have to look at our bylaws as a whole. And for example, the R3 zone is 200 feet of frontage and 55,000 square feet of land just to build a house. And there's not any of those left.
no big chunks left.
There's on Fruit Street, there's some land, Park Street, there's some land.
Yeah.
People driving the yellow buses have a lot of land in town. So there are some big plots left. Who knows when they'll be developed, and as a concession, like I said, I understand that the 20% might be too much, and I proposed that the cap be 15%, and I believe the MAPC, who did their review, said 15% might work.
15% when it comes to multifamily housing.
Yeah.
So this bylaw, applies to multifamily plus single family homes. So in terms of context and timing, the planning board will be working on some zoning changes as the town center takes use. There, yes, I know. But part of that discussion is kind of balance between the amount of commercial and residential, and then with that is they could do bonuses for additional affordable housing. Because when we stepped back to the last housing production plan we did, one of the action items was to reevaluate this particular bylaw. Because in many communities, affordable housing is done through bonuses to create additional affordable housing. This structure, this bylaw is more on the punitive side because you're taking away what would be market rate housing to accomplish. So for instance, if you gave a bonus of 10% to create affordable housing, or 15% bonus so it washes out, that's more than incentive to create, not.
You're giving them a density bonus.
Yeah.
So it's a mini 40, so the halfway.
Yeah, so to mitigate offset. So having said it, I'm sorry, Rich. So having said that, the objective with this particular change is to bring it down back to 10%. So we're not As you kind of go through all the boxes and then you're like, well, I'm gonna go 20%. You know what, might as well go 5 more, you go 40B and then override the local zoning bylaws. As opposed to, I could do 10%, and if I do an open space, I get a 10% bonus, so it can equalize it off, so you kind of put somebody new in open space subdivision, which is in line with our density in terms of overall yield for a piece of property. But they're small lots, right, so you don't.
Yeah. Lots more.
I mean, they could be down with that big.
I know they can.
Yeah, but not necessarily.
I've limited experiences.
Go on, question.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
So I know I touched on this briefly last time. And I don't know where town council weighed in on this or not, but I'm looking at 6 examples: Andover, Weston, Sudbury, Orleans, Mashpee, and one other one I just scrolled past, that are all either rejected or forced to be revised by the AG, and they're all inclusionary bylaws where they didn't set a cap. They said either a number by the selectmen, a number by the planning board, in our case, minimum of 350, but no cap, and the AG rejected all of those that didn't come in with a cap or a formula for a cap. And I brought this up last time. Planning boards had meetings, town council was, and I obviously nothing has changed, but it looks like we're setting up for a failure to launch here anyway, just with the way this article is worded, because it's not worded in a way that's legally standing with the AG's office with the existing case law.
In terms of, because it says minimum.
Because there's no cap or formula or cap, right? It just says minimum. Somebody could say, well, your unit, we need 500, and then they could challenge that because they could say it's unreasonable. So I brought this up a couple of meetings ago, and obviously
I
nothing's.
think we asked about what the process is for setting an worthy. It's sort of
A formula or
a
a
discretionary.
Yeah, there's.
but it can't be based on the guiding case law from Massachusetts, which is Parker, Sterling. So that's. These have all failed, or not failed, a lot of them have been kicked back and forced to be revised, so. Why are we gonna put something forward that's just gonna come right back? I'm not, set that correctly.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hi, can I just make a comment?
Yeah, sure.
So first of all, I want to say that Peter did a tremendous amount of work on putting this all together before, when he brought it forward, and this evening. And he is absolutely correct that other communities did take the step of tiering percentages for affordable housing. The communities that did that are communities that were either 9% or higher or over 10%. Because when you're at 10%, you can be far more selective about what you're going to allow and not allow. And when we get there, then I've told Peter and I and Rich have had many conversations. We may be having a conversation to revise the inclusionary zoning bylaw. And one of the things that I said in the planning board meeting last night was, we look at bylaws that were written in the 20s and 30s that really aren't working today. And the affordable housing inclusionary zoning bylaw and what's allowed for payment in lieu of, in my opinion, are 2 things that are going to be looked at frequently and potentially need to be changed.
So Rich, question I was gonna ask you, and it sort of plays into what Sue was just talking about, you mentioned this overall review of zoning bylaws relative to housing changes that might come. What's the timeline? What's your expected timeline?
For the spring.
To bring like 2026 in 3 to 6 months. Why does this have to happen? A, B, if you're gonna do, Sue mentioned zoning bylaws that were written in the 20s. Town Senate was written in 2019. And then MBTA stuff overlaid on that, top of that 2 years ago. Why are we doing this now if we're gonna do it again?
So
And
the,
potentially, we'll get a 15% or a bonus. We're getting rid of the 15 and 20% without a bonus.
so a couple things, when it comes to the MBTA zoning, that overlay district doesn't cover the entire town.
No, I understand, but it definitely converts a significant amount of what used to be mixed use into 100% residential.
It could be, yeah, it certainly can. In terms of the town center piece of that, that's where we're, you know, since COVID, things have certainly dramatically changed.
Right, no, I agree.
So we're looking at the amount of commercial with the residential in town center. This bylaw covers that area. There's, you know, there's something to be said, we could wait.
I just think, and you brought it up, so I'm sorry, put it down, but you brought up the idea of bonuses. So, but basically you're taking a 6-week break, even rent bonuses back. Just saying, so,
Now,
okay,
I will say this,
sorry, go ahead.
with this still out there.
Yeah.
You know, we do have a 40B that we're hoping that we can redirect them to 10%, which they originally intended to develop under, and cut density down by 30 units of single family home.
That's the reason we did the pond. That right?
No,
that was a different problem.
on Lawrence Street. Well, Eagle Drive between Cranberry Heights and, it's called Cranberry Heights. Those, for what it's worth,
Next to Cranberry.
it's the current mills, yes. So what we do know is when you, single family housings can generate costs, right? So we're trying to balance that out. We're trying to provide affordable housing, but not overburden our over cost basis for services. So if we could do that, that would be one that would certainly get redirected. Onville Crossing, and just from talking to the developer today, and is shifting towards MBTA zoning. So we went from 200 down to 140, 1 and 2 bedrooms, which they preferred all along to do, but because it's just factual, I'm just laying it out there.
Yeah.
They talked about that scale up this inclusionary bylaw to tip the scale for them to go 40B.
Yeah.
It's just,
And this gets them out of it because the MBTA thing has a 10%.
and 10% gets them out. This is more still aggressive in terms of, you know, there's no rounding in the MBTA overlay district. The MBTA starts at 10. There is no buyout for affordable units in the MBTA. They got to be part of the development. So there's no offsite. There's no other options. It's straight up doing MBTA. It's part of it. He's got it right. So this bylaw is addressing kind of another aspect of it by doing this. And again, so for instance, if they go MBTA, which seems like they're going to do, if we're able to, if this goes through, or even if it doesn't go through, we're still exposed. We're still exposed with somebody else coming forward with another 40B if they're not going to be redirected under our zoning bylaws.
Sure.
And that's really it's a risk. And what we hear is that housing is expensive to build. So how do you build more? You need more density. So it's like, I agree, I like to time these things all out, but I also would be reluctant to say if we don't do something, something happens. Like for instance, the pond mill, a lot of changes going on. They did support that whole inclusionary bylaw, you know, but at the same time, they've been coming into us at full speed. Whoa, we don't want 200 units in our neighborhood. So that's a cause and effect, right? So that's kind of why we're here.
You still have a question?
It wasn't so much a question. You had posed the question as to why do we do this now, as opposed to waiting until the spring in consolidated fashion. Last time Rich was here, he talked to us about 3 projects that were in the beginning stages of the comprehensive permit process. If he, in speaking to the developers directly, and I can appreciate Peter's perspective, identifying that there are other factors that go into the need for a developer to want to go after a 40B. But in speaking with the developers, if Rich has a perspective that says, we could stray them away from that option by presenting this as the determining factor. I think that's enough of a reason for us to be able to go forward with something like this in the fall. And whether it passes, it doesn't, we put it in front of the community, they decide. But then we use that as a jumping off point for us to do it more comprehensive. Just my perspective.
So about your spring effort, can I suggest, were you here when we had the ZBSC? The zoning bylaw study committee?
No.
Okay, so this is something we had for years, which was planning board, zoning board, probably the affordable housing or some version of that early on. It was another committee, it was like the bylaw study committee, another committee put together that would do zoning. Right, and you didn't have just the planning board perspective, you had the zoning board perspective. I think Board of Health was probably on there, somebody from Board of Health, some ordinary citizens were on there. You know, if you had the B1 Business District Committee running, they would throw someone in ZBSC. It's a way to have all these discussions, like really early on the process, instead of having them at the end, the way we do. You can't have anyone on the advisory committee on it, because, you know, we can't do anything else, but, by bylaw, and any other things.
We have a number of them. B1.
When they do that with them, right? Anyways, can I just, you know, I was selecting you to go ahead. Selecting to put together. All right.
Peter, y'all, have you?
I'm all set.
Rich, Sue? Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. I talked to Rich about this,
Thank you, Peter.
when Ann was going up. Hold on, don't leave me.
I'm not gonna leave, I just.
When Rich and I were talking earlier, I mentioned that Ann was here last week and mentioned the $30,000 study that she was not expecting to have to do, which is built into her phase 1 of the concrete stuff, the pickleball study. I just had a question for Rich, what is it? How, I mean, is it? I am concerned that she said it's a $30,000 study. With like. Seems like everyone's just accepted the fact that it's a $30,000 study. So is it because it's an off the shelf? That's the wrong word, but is it like boom, 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 it's gonna cost $30,000 or?
So it's not actually, with permanent study, actually, it's to put the plans design for the pickleball courts and the sidewalk and everything, so it's the engineering, doing the contour, doing the drainage. That's what that money is for, to then go for the planning board. The reason why I pulled Gary, nobody wants to, but pickleball court.
Yeah, my favorite.
It's favorite.
I love that we lost the skate park. I love pickleball.
Yeah, not lost the skate park, but just in general, so the site plan approval bylaw. That was enacted, it was a few years ago now, really kind of frankly ratchet things down pretty tight. Which, you know, pros and cons of it. Well, so the con of it is it also doesn't exempt the town from going through that permitting process. And in the instance of the pickleball court, it triggers site plan approval through the planning board. So that's what necessitated.
We have to pay for our own peer review.
Yeah, yes. That's the point I made last. So we're not exactly taking money out of one pocket and putting it in the other, but it's taking money out of one pocket and you write a contract with the other hand. So that's what it is.
Mr. Chair, we did bring this up planning board a couple of months ago as potential, you know, I tried to drive it, and, you know, let's rethink this because we are taxing ourselves for things and there should be some remediation or, you know, variance process for municipality projects, but the board just wasn't ready to tackle it at that time, so we'll bring it up again at some point, I'm sure.
So it's like less than 400 square feet, right? For impervious surface, it's not very much, it's 2 courts.
I mean, it's 100 feet, it's a big
2 courts, I'm trying to.
3 courts.
Yeah, I'm doing it.
It's like 100.
I'm at it, so.
It's
I think there's 3. Do we know, did we get us into the town's disability person talk about it, the gravel walkways they wanna make our ADA compliant?
No, future.
So what we did, so Ann did, so what she did is she reached out to the engineer, that they need to make sure that the material is ADA compliant, but also weighing in terms of durability and in terms of, so that would be part of the design that comes in.
Okay.
But is it works?
No. That's the new.
Anyway, whatever, I
Oh, yeah.
it doesn't matter the square footage, it's a trigger, it triggers a and I guess the follow-up question is that we did this, when did we do this, 23, you said? No, it's longer than that. Whatever you said,
And maybe 19, it's a while that we did this stuff, but
maybe it's time to take it, seems.
so that's the other discussion we talked about, that we need to maybe take a look at it. And then, and it kind of was a stepping stone conversation in a way where the whole signage.
Yeah.
You know, private versus public, and putting us through the same process, so.
Okay.
It is worth revisiting it.
Okay,
One court is 880 square feet.
thank you.
Sure.
That's pretty good.
So that's,
So like a previous time, it's 24,000 years, 24,000.
my math is somewhat failing me here.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. That did. You let them have to follow up.
I mean, it is, so David, it's not one pocket to the other, one pocket to an outside consultant, right?
That we write a contract.
Yeah, so we are spending this $30,000. Project where we want to do.
Yeah, so, yeah, an engineer is gonna be hired to do the plan work and then another private.
I would earn the tax. So.
Yeah, no, we are.
I would say before Freeman Kennedy comes back to visit, we need to change this, because that will be astronomically more expensive to peer review and stuff on our own project.
Yeah,
Yeah, but the building permit costs.
Are you talking about the expansion? You're talking about.
Right, if we.
Oh, okay, that's like, no, we were talking about the ADA stuff.
No. Think of the fire station.
No, you just tell me, but you make a logically.
Something, you know,
I didn't
fear
get
that,
that.
hey, we're doing the Freeman Kennedy now, or we're gonna redo the olive day, and I'm gonna
Oh.
peer review on our own.
Well, fortunately, though, the school is an exempt use in terms of the bylaw, because it's protected under this.
So no peer review.
So it's not subject to, it's subject to reasonable regulations, not.
No, it's also so.
Are we hitting this?
No, it's subject. It's protected. It's protected, but it's all, but it's all.
Kids play pickleball, don't they?
But it's also subject to state school building construction codes.
No, true, but they're under the local,
What
under
if
local.
we're teaching pickleball, these pickleball courts?
All right, you guys hit the hell out of your question.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you all. Thanks. So, thank you guys. Our next step is to work our way through the articles, to vote on them. And while we're voting on them, if anyone has an interest in doing the write-ups, we can assign them at the time, and then we'll go back and assign the ones that are misses. Article 1 is committee reports. I know of at least 2, but we have nothing to do with that, so we're skipping her. Article 2 is unpaid bills, which we don't have, so we're gonna IP this.
Move to IP.
Anyone second that?
Second.
All in favor of IPing and Joyce Terrio?
Aye.
Mike G.
Hi.
Jonathan Horowitz.
Hi.
Dave Lutz, yes. Rob Gary. Aye. Ken Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Melissa's here.
Yes.
Kevin Calcutt.
Yes.
All right, passes unanimously. Article 3 is transfers. Ken.
I'd like to make a motion.
Please go ahead.
My motion would be that we approve the sum of $480,056, so $480,056, excluding the emergency assessment to the Metacomet, because no emergency was clearly identified. It was simply, they've decided to change their operating budget for the year, and they will have to present why back to the town and revisit this spring town meeting.
So, we don't have the capacity to change the warrant. We have the capacity to vote to bring up, hold on, we can also vote to bring up an amendment as a not unfriendly amendment at town meeting. But we need a second for Ken's motion first.
Who wants to pay?
I would second the motion that we can't do.
Couldn't we vote to
No, we can vote to
vote-
not approve it and then offer an amendment.
Oh, I see.
Make a motion to not approve this.
I don't wanna mess with all the other stuff. Obviously, it's just this one thing that wasn't explained to us. So
But
so
I would suggest you vote no on the article and then say the reason why you're voting no on the article. I think.
And I also, I'm gonna ask Michael that we do some follow-up between now and the meeting, to see if we can get a better answer on what the $15,000 assessment might have been. Whatever we can do to help you with that, Michael, let us know.
I can do that. I'll reach out tomorrow and find out what happened there.
I have a hard time holding the recommendation from the. That's because it is the standard procedure.
This is our last shot.
Until the meeting before the meeting, I guess.
So when you're saying, you're saying we should vote on it.
I don't say we have to vote on it. I feel like it's something this is it's a standard operating thing. If this is an issue, and has identified an issue that's legitimate, we just, we can do it before town meeting. But I would like to get a sense of the group right now, rather than take it down the road, because if there's a sense that we're gonna do it, no matter what the answer is, we might do it now.
Yes.
Well, yes or no, well, I like,
well, we have a motion and a second, so that's the first.
we have a motion and a second just to deny this.
No, it's to approve it and with a note that
No, we can't.
we're in favor of
We
it
can't.
for this amount.
We have to vote against it and then offer our amendment at 10, correct?
But we can also vote for it in any.
And we can vote for it, and depending on the answer we get, we could offer an amendment. Or we could take it to the meeting before town meeting and vote on it then, if we don't have the.
So I think the proper procedure is, I move the article as printed in the warrant. Right, and then we see if we support it, the people in Ken would vote no on that, and anyone who joins in Ken's concern about the 15 would vote no on that. If it passes, then there's individuals can make motions at town meeting to reduce the total.
And there'll be a write-up that explains why.
Or Ken could make an IP motion. That's the only.
The problem is that I think Ken's concern is that we don't do anything.
Right, you don't do anything, we mess up money going back to special ed funds, to all people who have demonstrated, good ideas and people who have demonstrated, yeah, hey, we need this money for the recreation to pay out with all legitimate stuff. This is the one that there's no,
We have.
hey, we changed our final budget.
Pay. Yeah. We have to pay the salaries.
Yeah.
We don't have to do the 2 stabilization fund things,
But my view is that we have to unfortunately do them in a common thing because we're subject to an agreement at the front. Even though they screwed up their budget.
So I need a motion on this.
Well, I'm leaving rescind my first motion.
There's a motion and second on the floor, so if you rescind your motion,
I'll
then you can
rescind-
move on from there.
I'll rescind the original motion.
Okay.
Yeah, I would move to approve it, but I don't want to do that if there's other motions.
They're second.
Plus, so I get no rescission. I'll rescind my second.
He's present without objection.
Mr. President. I accept that rescission, and then we have a motion to approve. I need a second. I'll second. Is there any further discussion on this one? All in favor of approving this article as written in the warrant? Aye.
No, roll call.
Roll call votes. Gotta do a roll call vote. It's gonna screw me up. Mike G.
Aye.
Jonathan Hurwitz.
No.
David Lutz, aye. Rob Garrity. And Fitzgerald. Wow. Was here.
Yes.
Kevin. Yes. Joyce Terrio, sorry.
Yes.
Be a long night. Yes, be a long night. You got that? 5-2. 5-2. 6-2.
6-2, isn't it?
6.
Let's see what that's good.
Article 4,
We'll change.
is the capital, items we discussed last week. Can I get a motion on
I'll make a motion for the board or on the warrant.
the second?
Second.
We'll take a roll call vote on this. Kevin Calcutt.
Yes.
Steer.
Yes.
Ken Fitzgerald. Yes. Rob Gary.
Yes.
David Lutz, yes. Jonathan Hurwitz.
Yes.
Mike G.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Oh, Joyce Terrio.
Yes,
All right. Thank you, Joyce. Article 5 is the proposal to alter a number of the clerk's fees. Carol was here 2 weeks ago and went through these. I think we have some questions for her. I think we're pretty comfortable with this. Can I get a motion on this?
I'll second.
We'll take a roll call vote on that. Joyce Terrio,
yes,
Kevin Calcutt,
Yes.
Melissa Sear,
Yes.
Ken Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Rob Gary. Dave Lutz, yes. John McWhorter, yes.
Yep.
Mike G, yes. Okay. Article 6 is the PEG access, it's the cable budget that we just heard from Michael on. We had an opportunity to ask him some questions. Can I get a motion on it?
I'll make a motion that we approve those written.
Second?
Second.
Second. Take a roll call on this. Mike G.
Aye.
Jonathan Hurwitz.
Yes.
Kevin Calcutt.
Yes.
Melissa Sear.
Yes.
Joyce Terrio.
yes,
Ken Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Dave Lewis, yes. Rob Gary. Yes. Yes, okay, that one passes unanimously. Article 7. This is the Pond View Recreational Complex
On street,
on street recreational, I did that.
your house is the pond, you're right.
We just discussed this, and we discussed it 2 weeks ago, or last week with Ann.
Do we have a final number in here?
No,
May I propose we defer voting on this until we have an answer on the ADA walkways?
and what if we don't get an answer? So I think the answer I heard from Rich is that the planning that will occur as a result of this will specify ADA plan materials.
Right, but the question that you didn't say that was being sought was the durability of said materials. That was the, not to rehash all of this.
I think Rich mentioned both durability
I
and
have no
compliance.
concerns that the materials are going to be ADA compliant. It's an issue of no one's given any comfort that we're not going to be rebuilt this after first. So something to that effect.
I think Richard mentioned that both durability and ADA compliance would be part of the plan. The designs that are developed as a result of this permeation. However, can I get a motion on this one?
Can
Or,
I,
did you have a question?
can,
Mike?
Dollar figure, you had it first.
yes.
Dollar figure, because there was something.
It's gonna go down.
About the dollar figure was.
Can I have a clarification? I, just a couple of meetings, so I apologize, but is this Article 7 related to
Sorry.
the discussion we had at
Yes,
the end of this thing?
yes.
So that 30,000.
The project would include some ADA design.
Okay,
There's a two-phase in the map you have, like. The bottom part of that, which I think is blue, is phase 1, the top part is phase 2.
Yeah.
Phase 1 is included in this. In addition, there's $30,000 for the site plan review we just discussed.
Yes.
Which is part of the 79,000.
Well, but at the hearing,
But-
we were trying to figure out where we got 79.
so that's so we don't know why the 79 is active.
There's a table in there that doesn't add up to 7.
And this doesn't. I don't want to go down the Yankee pickleball thing, but the money previously approved for,
That is still in advance,
that's still sitting there waiting to spend.
waiting for this to get done so they can begin building.
But if we do this, obviously cost estimate prices have changed by the time this is done. Is there money in this to account for whatever shortfall might come because this thing got kicked down the road?
The way I read this is that this money is for the site plan review process only.
Didn't we accommodate for any increases since the project was initially approved with the second time they came forward during the last town meeting? I feel like that was part of what she brought forward in terms of that dollar amount.
But was it to that date or this extended date?
Okay. We did vote to increase the amount last time.
Right,
Because it needed more time.
right.
Because it went beyond the time that it should have been built, yeah, partially because they have to do a thing, it's like, you know, it was stuck at the planning board.
Correct.
But, so theoretically, we've accommodated the increase in construction costs, and that's a theoretically comment, and depending on what happens.
I'm just hoping theoretically the world's moved off from paper wall and we haven't, there's no big bad again. You know how I'm voting on this one.
So we could
So-
vote, we have to vote another though, we could vote 79 and change it, they'll change it on the floor.
We could, I mean, I think it's. The reality is we can't spend more than the quotes come in for. I say somewhat confidently, and I look to our procurement officer who's on screen up there. Mike. Michael, question for you. We vote 79.5 for this, and the construction costs come in lower, the cost of the project come in lower than that. They can't spend up to the 79.5 if it's not justified by the quotes and contracts, right?
They can't spend beyond the 79.5, but if it comes in under, the money would then just go back to the CPA.
Okay.
Alright, so let's,
I think we go,
yeah, let's move that number, I'll make a motion.
Rob has made a motion, Rob making a motion to approve Article 7.
I am moving to.
Can I get a second? Second. I will take a roll call vote. Melissa Cedar,
Yes.
Ken Fitzgerald,
No,
Kevin Calvert,
Yes.
Rob Jarrett,
Yes.
Joey Terrio,
No,
Mike G,
yes.
Jonathan Hurwitz,
No.
David Lewis, yes. Peter just went to sleep. Hold on. Article 8 is the project, the ADA project at the Freeman. I believe we have the same concerns, Jonathan, about the materials. Does anyone have any comments on this before I ask for a motion? Or I should ask for a motion first?
Motion to approve as written.
Okay.
Second.
Does anyone have any comments on it before we take a roll? Okay, Joyce Terrio, Article 8.
yes,
Kevin Calvert,
Yes.
Melissa Sear,
Yes.
Ken Fitzgerald.
yes,
Rob Gary. Yes. David Lutz, yes. Jonathan Hurwitz, Mike G.
Yes.
Article 9. This is the, this is the railroad track baseball field at Freeman Kennedy. Do I have a motion on this one?
Motion to approve as written.
Can I get a second? I will take a roll call vote on this. David Lutz, yes. Rob Garrity.
Yes.
Ken Fitzgerald.
yes,
Melissa Sear.
Yes.
Kevin Calcutt.
Yes.
Joyce Terrio.
yes,
Mike G.
Yes.
Jonathan Hurwitz.
Yes.
Article 10. Jesus, we haven't been signed even.
Figure that out.
It's the historic commission thing. This is the 6-month, 12-month thing relative to the demolition permits. And the abeyance of the issuance of those, extending that period from 6 to 12 months. We had the chair of the historic commission to speak to us about that.
I will move acceptance, approval of Article 10.
Can I get a second on that?
Second.
I will say I'm a little concerned that a lot of the buildings she mentioned, or several of the buildings she mentions are here on it, or the national stuff. There's a whole bunch, there's layered complexity in the historic stuff. And to think your point, a lot of the stuff is totally so it's not objective. There are no objective standards like there are for wetlands. You know, you don't count the number of species, or it's not the same. It's not the flow rate from a Title V system. If someone famous lived there and the house is only 45 years old, that's, you know.
My comment on this, aside from the fact that the year is not indexed, right, it's just
50 years.
50 years or 75 years
regardless of how far in the future it is, at some point, it's.
Right.
Defeating its own point, but beyond that. My read of this is, there's no real teeth in this, all we're doing is giving people time to delay to ask the owner to do something else. The owner is interested in doing something else, in finding someone to purchase it, in relocating the property, and those, they have a true interest in doing it. They're gonna do it in 6 months. It's not, in my opinion, it's not that they're gonna refuse to do it 6 months and then in month 12, they'll say, okay, you convinced me. Right, I don't necessarily, my point here is if there's no teeth in it, it's only a delay that's going to harm the owner of the property if they choose not to do it to go along. So I don't understand the value of delaying. If that property owner is interested in preserving it, they should be an interested participant to make something happen. Even if it takes longer than 6 months to find someone, if they're interested in doing it, they probably won't be rushing into demolition. If they want to demolish it, this bylaw does nothing other than cause harm to the property.
Rob?
So I live up the street from the Weirlands, which for a couple of years had those firemen don't bother putting up those fire signs on it. Massively historic house, I think Mrs. Tasker understated that. Right, but it was very much in danger for quite a while, because you can still destroy things on the national register, you can take them down. It took a while to find a decent owner for it. I think it's the first place in the US that actually did pasteurization. That's the milk used to be the greatest. Anyway, that's right, we're milk rating. But they finally got an owner who really is taking it seriously, and it's coming back.
So it takes, Weirland is a special circumstance, because the Weirlands also ended up getting a conservation restriction on all the land around there. Which means the footprint of the building can't get any bigger, even if you did tear it down. Cause I was on the Concom and someone came in and said they wanted to build a barn, he said you can't build a barn. It's restricted, there's all sorts of issues there.
But the point is, it took time to find the right.
And what I was gonna say, in a similar vein, Jonathan, I think what the Historic Commission is trying to say is that they would like the time to work with an owner that may not be ready to go through, they may not have thought of the possibility of finding an alternative buyer. They might have just said, I'm gonna tear it down or whatever. This gives them more time, because and that's the point he was making. It wasn't, I agree with you. If you buy a historic home, it's a historic home, like the ones she gave us are, for the most part, I would consider clearly historic homes. But you and I were worried about the same thing. My house is historic now, because it was built in 1974. And it is not a 4-bedroom, will be soon.
Because you live in it, that's why this one.
What was that? But I thought it was 50 years.
I thought it was 75.
75. So it's about 75.
But I think Medfield has 50 years. Somebody around us has 50.
Okay, so anyways.
But again, it's we're not building any new.
But I live on a street that has 7 houses with the exact same.
That's the thing,
There are 107.
That's my issue is I feel like it's causing potential harm to the property. The other half of the issue is this is not the age of this house is not like indexed or it's not changing.
Right.
I would be much happier if this said in this bylaw, any houses built in 1950 or earlier are subject to this. Just saying 75 years, it's gonna catch everyone in town at some point when their house is 75 years old. And then on the whim, someone in the historical commission can prevent you from doing something to your 1974 Dutch colonial that has no historic value whatsoever.
I would dispute the word whim. I think that's a sort of a shot at the folks. That they're for no objective standards purposes. What I was getting at. And that's the problem with historic stuff. None of this stuff is objective. None of it is. The laws are all written with a bunch of qualifiers, and if you ever try to deal with the Mass Historic Commission, it's like they don't answer your questions because they don't want to write it down. I hate to put it that way.
Well, no, and then what you just described is exactly where I was saying, I'm not in opposition to this, and I think if we
define a year, we're just gonna put a stake in the ground and say historic homes were before, pick a year, whatever it is. 50, they see, we'll give that houses built before that period of time needs the special examination, fine. Some point, the points crossed. Gonna have to go through this review.
So just for context, though, I mean, again, and this one conversation too. That's what you're describing a flaw in bylaw.
The current bylaw.
In current bylaw that wasn't fixed, right?
No, they weren't
Maybe
planning
that's
to
what
address
they-
it yet, they're just planning on doubling the list.
Right, making it worse by not having it defined and doubling the amount of time that it could be held hostage.
But the question before, us, right, like, it's just time.
Just the kind, right, I just want to be clear that.
I'm thinking a bad bylaw works, potentially, in some opinions.
So I would like a motion on Article 10.
You have it.
Did I?
Yes, and second by me.
I will take a roll call vote on this unless there's further discussion. Mike G.
Aye.
Jonathan Hurwitz.
No.
David Lutz, aye. Rob Garrity.
Aye.
Ken Fitzgerald.
No.
Melissa Sear.
Yes.
Kevin Calcutt.
Yes.
Joyce Terrio.
Aye.
You. It's a vote. Article 11. This is the MacArthur Avenue situation that we were discussing earlier today. I still. I ask for a motion on this and then we can discuss it, but.
Is this one where we would wait for the select board or not?
Pardon me?
Is this one where we would wait for the select board meeting?
Yeah, they're having a
It was,
hearing, right?
or here, whatever it is.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, that's right.
No, and we didn't say that there's another one that was gonna wait, but I didn't know about this one, because it's not quite done yet, right?
Michael, are you able to tell us what the public hearing is on the MacArthur Avenue thing?
Is on the select board agenda for Monday evening. Next
And
month.
what happens as a result of that public hearing? I apologize for asking this question. I should have asked Rich.
After the public hearing, the board will vote. They haven't voted the articles yet. So the select board would then vote the articles that night after the public hearing. So if they hear something at the public hearing that they don't like, they can vote either yes or no on the article.
Or is this no different than any other town?
I don't think I heard anything from Rich to say that this is gonna change.
Hearing, nobody spoke at the planning board meeting, hopefully to do it, select board.
So if we vote to approve or not approve based on the language currently here, and the select board in their public hearing decides to IP it, or it's not ready yet, or we need more work based on what they hear, we have anything to change our recommendations before that meeting, right? Based on the change in the select board's perspective.
Yeah,
It just won't be written,
or right up.
Something that, and as long as the write-up identifies the time of review or something.
well, it's true. Yeah, so the selectmen's vote is to accept, right, Mike, it's gonna be the acceptance of the layout public way.
Correct.
They would. Yeah,
Can I get a vote on motions?
Need a motion to accept as written.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, Joyce Terrio,
Aye.
G.
Aye.
Jonathan Hurwitz,
yes.
David Lutz, yes, Rob Gary, yes, Ken Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Melissa Sear,
Yes.
Kevin Calcutt.
Yes.
Vote on that article. Well, is the open space requirement. It sounds to me like this is the one we have to push until right before the meeting, because it's still in the flux, still cooking. And I think we've raised some points that have made them think about what they're gonna do. So I mean, they apparently didn't think the Conservation Commission until we brought it up, but
Just to recap, what's in flux is we had made a recommendation that perhaps the authority, the authorizing body shouldn't be the planning board necessarily. It should be a different body that's more directly tied to the maintenance of open space after it's approved as opposed to the approval authority. Is that the one we were talking about?
yeah, but I honestly, and unfortunately, I think there are some properties in town that are under the control of select board that are also considered open space, if I'm not mistaken. I have a strange feeling that the Gumps Farm property was purchased was purchased and is now under the control of the select board because it's got affordable housing and recreation and open space. And so there was a decision made at the time to put it on. So in other words, I think what I'm saying is that I don't think moving it from the planning board to the conservation commission is the solution. I actually think it's some sort of joint. Okay, that's what. You know what I'm saying? Am I making any sense?
No, so like added another variable into potential outcome, right? But I think that at its core, this isn't finalized from the select board's perspective, right?
Oh, George Moore.
Should we just get in?
No, she did get, she did just get moved a minute ago, I haven't heard, it happened to her once earlier.
Okay. I don't think they were, Mike understood we the question for that, Mike.
Yeah, we know what my speaking about, you can't see my face.
There he is. Kevin, come sit next to me. I'm kidding, that's well, man, Mike, on Article 12, which is the planning board thing, which isn't necessarily, something, but Andrew from, our legal counsel's raised some need to rewrite this. We're not gonna make any motions on this until, I think our idea is to delay this until the meeting before town meeting, which we do. I don't like to vote on something that I don't know what the final solution is, so.
I think that's appropriate at this point. You know, I sent that to Rich this afternoon and asked him to follow up with Andrew.
Okay. So I think we're just gonna delay the vote on this one until right.
There's also brackets and X's.
Yeah, that's right, that,
Usually a revolving fund lies with a specific town department,
right.
it doesn't lie with a board, so.
And I honestly think the planning board, well, no, there knows, no, there's a couple of them with the big.
Well, but the
Conservation.
planning board doesn't do maintenance,
Conservation committee, no, that's fair, that's fair.
so if that worked weird, it's like a maintenance account, but they're not.
Which is why I wrote the county, because the county does take 1 month for maintenance and that does contract on very rare occasions, because they don't have a lot of money.
Or it should be direction of the town administrator who can then deal with any, whatever, whoever's doing the maintenance.
All right, so we'll deal with Article 12 before the meeting. Article 13 is the trailer home mobile. That's whatever, you know, when we discussed earlier with Rich and Gary. Can I get a motion on this?
I would move to approve Article 13.
Can I get a second? Second. I will take a roll call on this unless there's further discussion. Okay, Kevin Calca.
Yes.
Jonathan Hurwitz.
No.
Mike G.
Yes.
Melissa Sear.
Yes.
Ken Fitzgerald.
No.
Rob Garrett.
No.
Dave Woods, yes. 4-3, should be we. She's just texted me, she's trying to get back on, so he texts.
I understand what they're trying to do.
I understand what they're trying to do too, but I also think that, it's too, we've already voted, yeah, so.
PAG will reject it.
Because of the definition of occupancy.
Vehicles and occupancy. You can't occupy a vehicle, so it's
Right.
It's legalese, it's.
I have a question, I know we just voted, but if someone's house is in disrepair such that they're not living in it, are we still collecting property taxes during the period of time?
Yeah,
So we could collect property taxes from someone. And then say you've exceeded your time limit, you're forced out of town. So at that point, are they still entitled to use town services, such as sending kids to the schools? Or if they're not living in town, are they now, even though they're paying property taxes, they're not occupying a house, are they still allowed to make use of town services?
I'm not gonna speculate on it for that, I don't know for sure.
Well, we can't really kick them out of the town, that's misinformation, it's a town bylaw, maximum punishment's a $300 fine, it's a maximum you can levy. So potentially the building inspector could show up and write a $300 ticket per day, that's gonna get challenged around the district court, it's gonna get, what will happen to it there, I could speculate on, but
Anyways,
yeah, so it's not, no one's gonna get kicked out of town, that was, I think, bad terminology that we got.
let's move on. We'll try to get further clarification on that for you, Jonathan.
Which way did it go?
That's 4-3.
4-3, yes, okay.
She might be joining. Article 14, the inclusionary zoning bylaw changes. Can I get a motion on this one?
I would motion to IP it because I don't think it is valid legal. Section $350,000 to make it without a cap isn't legal, so my motion would be to IP it.
Second. Anyone have any comments on it? Take a roll call on that. Most sincere.
Yeah.
Kevin Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Rod Gary. Yes. David Lutz. Yes. Kevin Calcutt. No. Jonathan Hurwitz. Yes. Mike T.
No.
Last one is the citizens
So,
petition.
I'm sorry, can we just talk about what we just did? So. Just
We are voting to IP.
No, we are, right, so we voted that in, so it's just gonna indicate that in the box.
Yes.
That's the,
Right.
right, what we just did, okay, right.
Article 15 is the citizens petition, as currently drafted. The article is not moderate and clearly can't take this out at this point. He's talked to on considering other options, but I would recommend to us right now that this get IP. And I think when I say IP, I mean this legitimately, like if this is a serious, there's a lot of work that's gone into this. And I think that the commissioner should be allowed to pursue this, but I think he needs to pursue it in a way that's going to work for the purposes of bringing in. I also sent you guys a version that he is now talking about, which actually may be more problematic. Previous version because of the way he structured his transition, which as if you read it, would have all 5 select board positions all be up for vote at the next town meeting. And then they would essentially draw a lot to figure out who gets the 3-year terms and who gets the 2-year.
Yeah, it started out already and got a strange word language.
I didn't quite understand. And I sent an email, which I legitimately sent it to last night, but I sent it, this is what his intention was. Sure. I can double check.
Well, it's now a slut.
So,
Okay.
But you talk.
citizens petition process, go and collect signatures, okay, turn in signatures for validation. Once validated, your petition goes on to the warrant for town meeting and is to be heard by the town. Okay. His proposition was a non-binding proposal to expand the select board from 3 to 5 people without a definition of how to actually do that, right?
I'm not, hello Joyce,
He didn't think it was a non-binding.
Still, what was signed off for by the town and approved to put on the warrant was just a non-binding proposal to expand the select board from 3 to 5, right?
Yeah.
Now, he wants to go and try to find a way to make that binding now, which I get that there's a whole thing about the change of scope and moderators involved. But on the basis of what was put in front of us, I think that we should vote yea or nay on the non-binding proposal to expand the select board from 3 to 5 for the purpose of a recommendation to town meeting. And whatever happens at town meeting after that, hey, that's the business of what happens on town meeting floor. But what's in front of us right now is a non-binding proposal to expand the select board from 3 to 5. From my perspective.
So it's non-binding inherently, or because it doesn't say that?
Because there's no mechanism to actually make it happen. He didn't cite the fact that we're going to pursue a charter, and he didn't cite the fact that we're going to seek special approval from the legislature. So because of that, We're just basically saying town meeting like the idea.
It's like an opinion question, basically.
Right,
Yeah, but it's not gonna be evident.
Jay has talked about that as being a possible allowance that he would allow. I should also point out that Jay's told me that he's going to allow the petitioner to make the motion. So we are going to be making comments on his motion essentially.
So we're not.
On his new motion,
I don't know, and that's the problem, is that Jay's also not inclined to accept anything new because the warrant is essentially closed. You know, and it's not, go ahead. No, go ahead. So no, I think I basically did, I said it's not clear to me what's gonna be eligible for us to vote on. I think he's going to propose an alternative version. I'm not sure Jay's gonna allow it. Because it's beyond the scope. Because of the fact that he wants to take an advisory opinion and turn it into an actual bylaw change or.
can we take like a temperature of the room? Where do people lay on this article, not an official vote? Where do they lay on the idea, so we at least have an idea of how to,
Yeah.
what we should do here? Because if everyone here says, yes, this is a great idea, we should do some sort of vote that sends it down the road with a great idea. If everyone here says this is terrible, maybe we IP it or something. I don't know. I think we should probably kind of take the temperature of the room.
Alright, so here's my temperature. Ben did a great job with the information, so I said, okay, I'm gonna look this up too, and I went on Google, and you get 10 pages worth of discussion about going from a 3 to a 5, which makes the point that this isn't the way to do this. In towns that have done this, you've seen months, and literally, I forgot what town it is, it's out west, Chester, I don't know, it's not Chester. Somebody had 4 years of town meetings where they brought this up. Okay, so I think a big change like this, you don't do as a one-off. You have, a government study committee, you have conversations, and at the very least, I would support this because it doesn't come back to the voters at the end. Many times we make changes in the way we run things, it gets accepted by town meeting, the legislature passes it, goes back to the voters for a vote. So the last 5 years, we've had an average of 168 people at town meeting, okay? That's down to 169 my first 5 years in town, I looked this up. So I think we owe it to go back to town at the end, at the very least. So my temperature is, this isn't the right way to.
We're 5% of town meeting, so.
Sadly enough, you are accurate.
I mean, as far as temperature goes, I totally agree, and I would not express support for the article for a variety of reasons, but I think specifically what Rob said and for others, but so I don't know how, I would express that with the IP, but I think it feels a little bit chaotic and risky to just say, let's entertain the idea at town meeting. But that's just my.
John, you have any comments? I'll give her.
I'm on the same page. I have a list of wrongful reasons that we don't need to get into. Suffice to say, I would be disappointed. It's part of the problem.
Joy, do you have any thoughts on this one? I'm gonna give everyone a chance to.
I always have thoughts.
I know, that's why I'm asking.
So I can see the merits and the opposition to either a 3-member board or a 5-member board. As it was presented to us in the warrant, I don't believe that I could support it as it was sent to us in the warrant.
Yeah, I guess I'm not sure how it would come forward otherwise.
Well, I don't
like,
I don't think we have a clear answer because I think
Yeah.
Jay has considered the idea that he allowed for a advisory vote to take the temperature, taking the temperature.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure and I think it also depends on how Ben is going to present it. Ben is presenting he is convinced that he can make this work somehow. Kevin, I've got an email to that effect. So, Ken, you have any further thoughts?
So theoretically, I support a 5-person board. I work for a 5-person board. And it's nice that no one person is a third of the pot. The downside to this is, I think this is if it was done right, we would have had an actual article that says we petition the general court of the Commonwealth, blah, 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 and it would spell out we're gonna add 2 additional positions, one's a 2-year, one's a 3-year, so that they stagger in and all that. It wasn't done right procedurally, so is this a good idea for the town? Yeah, probably, let's move the board forward to 5, but I don't think, my opinion is, I think an IP on this is a better answer, and we can write up, we're IP it because this isn't done the right way. Doing this through a motion could cause some sort of chaos and lack of stability. This should come back to us in the spring as the actual petition to the general court of the Commonwealth with all the. Yeah, my personal opinion, 5-member board better than a 3-member board, but I think we should IP this.
You already. Okay. So did I get a motion? I got a motion on IP, right?
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, just as you mentioned a scenario, and I don't know how realistic, so you said that Jay might allow the petitioner to make a motion.
He is going to allow the petitioner to make the first motion.
Okay, so
Not us.
whatever we decide to do is not gonna be the motion, it's only
Only our
gonna be.
recommendation.
Right, exactly, I just wanted, because usually we do both, right, didn't we
Well,
put ourselves back?
I think what you got, and the write-ups in the
Yeah.
thing say that the advisory committee recommends.
Okay.
It doesn't say insists on or
Well,
requires.
but wait, this is why it's important what we talked about at last town meeting about who makes the initial.
Right,
motion.
exactly.
So our motion would, one of 2 things, we either get up and say vote no on this, or we get up and move.
Right.
Indefinite
Right.
postponement.
Right.
Right, so that's, and then there's 2 votes.
Right.
Our vote on the final,
Yeah.
so.
Right, then that'll be different than all the
We
rest.
don't know if Jay's gonna allow this.
Right.
We don't know because he's had a conversation.
Either the one that's here or the one that.
He's having a conversation with Ben and they're not concluded yet.
And it's still evolving. Ben was talking on Facebook about a different petition that he was gonna collect signatures for.
Which raised,
No,
this one, this raised the whole other question about whether he's even allowed to file one.
Well, in citizen petitions, there's very little law about when you can and cannot shut them down.
Yeah, that's why I said, if we just focus on what's in front of us, what's been validated by the town clerk and what's currently printed on the warrant, that's really all we can control at this point. And if I could just give a short perspective on my feelings on the whole thing. I would love, or you started, but I did, actually talk. I would love to hear the town's perspective on expanding the select board from 3 to 5. I personally believe that right now, Norfolk as a whole is at a crossroads. We have just exceeded the 12,000 person limit to be allowable by the state to consider city forms of government. We have the ability to better define our town administrator or town manager role, with that vacancy being open right now. And we have a whole slew of things that we can define more clearly without requiring the approval of the legislature by establishing a charter. I would prefer to see this be directed towards a charter review committee that would make a proposal to town meeting on a number of things in one fell swoop and get us to a better place from an approval standpoint to not have to require the legislature for everything.
And I would agree with that.
Yep.
But I'm not sure the petitioner's in the same place as us, but B, that's part of a recommendation.
Yep.
Or we don't think we should be acting on this. We do believe, however, that more comprehensive review.
We've raised issues that would best be resolved.
The governance of
Sure.
So like, this is petitions aren't put off yet, why don't we just get ours?
No, well, we got 8 right here, so there's drive-by Joyce on Wayne. I have a motion. Did I get a second?
What's the motion?
Yeah.
I did, Amy.
I second.
Sorry, who made the motion?
I don't think
I think you made a motion.
No,
I said I would, but I will.
Okay, so if Mike made a motion, I use. Can I get a second? Second, okay. I will take a roll call on this. Mike G.
Yes.
Yes,
John Bernard.
yes to IP, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Kevin Campbell. No. David Luce, yes. Rod Harry.
Yes.
And Fitzgerald.
Oh, no, now I'm double confused. One question, if we can answer the question, if we IP it, the write-up would basically say something, we recommend IP because we think there should be either charter review or some other process to formally do this. Well, that was the opinion of.
That wasn't, no, but I agree with that, and.
Whether it's charter review or whether it's this should come back as a properly written petition of the
At
general
a
court.
minimum, it could be written up as a minimum, we think it needs to be in a format that will allow us to.
It deserves a more fulsome discussion among the town.
Alright, so I guess on the IP, yes or no?
Alyssa,
Yes.
Joyce Terrio,
Yes,
we're done for that, now we have to decide.
Yeah, as a lone dissenting vote on that, I'd like the opportunity to do it. I appreciate that. I thought you were gonna volunteer, so appreciate it.
can I ask a question?
But yeah,
While I was having technical difficulties, did you take votes on 12, 13, and 14? And what was the majority, please?
so
12 was delayed.
we're waiting to see what they bring to us before town meeting. The language is still.
Okay,
No, 12.
Yeah, the open space.
12 inches.
Sorry, yep, 12.
13 was, what was the vote, what was the three?
13 was 4-3, passed.
14 was,
The trailer, the mobile home.
yeah,
That was IP'd.
14 was IP.
Yes.
okay, right. You just on, didn't you get back in time from, no, you didn't, never mind.
no, I
Okay.
didn't.
13
So-
was, mobile home thing was 4-3. We can open that up again, Joyce, if you'd like to be recorded on that.
Is that possible?
4-3 in favor?
Yes,
No. My vote will make it a tie.
that means it doesn't go
So it
to,
fails on a tie. Yeah. Can I move to reopen 13, given one of our board members?
yes.
Technical seconds.
I have to take a roll call on this, so I'll reopen, Dave.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
if you're making a motion to reconsider, you need someone on the prevailing side to make the motion to reconsider.
I would make a motion to reconsider.
Who else voted yes on this? I need a second.
What do we have? So we have the RV thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I did it, second.
All right, so I'll take a quick roll call on reopening this one. Thank you, Michael. Joyce Terrio.
What am I voting on?
Reopen Article 14.
Oh, to
which-
reopen? Yes, please.
Mike G.
We are voting simply
To reopen it, yes, we can reconsider it, yes.
Oh,
Sorry,
reconsidering it, not just reopen, yeah.
yes.
Yes.
Jonathan,
Yes.
Kevin Keller.
Yes.
David Lutz, yes. Rob Garrity.
Yes.
Ken.
Yes.
Gerald. Melissa Sear.
Yes.
So I move to approve Article 13. Did I move it before? I don't know. Jump on anybody.
Yeah, Mike and Kevin.
Okay, yeah. So I'll move to approve Article 13.
Can I get a second on that? Second. I will take a roll call vote on it. Melissa Sear. You changed your vote.
Melissa, you voted. You voted.
You had to voted yes.
Yeah, you voted,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it was Melissa Sear.
Yeah.
Ken Fitzgerald.
No.
Rob Garrity.
No.
David Lutz, yes. Kevin Calcutt.
Yes.
Jonathan Hurwitz. No. Mike G.
Yes.
The vote is tied, and therefore our motion fails.
Did Joyce vote?
No.
Joyce Terrio. I'm sorry.
No,
It's upside down. I can't remember. We now have a tie vote.
Okay.
So we're voting basically not to move forward on this one. We voted no on this for all intents and purposes.
Well, we have to.
We voted not.
No, we have to go to motions and not approve the article, right? We can't just.
Yeah, but it's gonna be a tie.
It would.
So we change your vote and create real chaos.
If we change your vote. We could both change our votes with really serious.
Could we make a motion to IP it and see if that does?
Yeah, you could.
So not a no, but we
You know
motion
what?
to IP this.
Have to vote to reconsider.
It's gonna have the same.
Are we still reconsidering?
That will die.
Failed motion, we can. Failed motion, we can do it, right? So I'll motion that we IP it.
Can I get a second on that? Second. I will take a roll call vote on that. Ken Fitzgerald. I vote aye.
Yeah, I think.
Bob Gary.
Yes.
David Woods, yes. Kevin Calvert, no. John Lewis.
Yes.
No.
Mike G, no. Joyce Terrier.
Yes,
Okay, we have voted to, I
didn't.
Theory, sorry,
No,
no, I should just go with these same people every
I
time.
don't know where that got us.
2,
3, 4, 5, and I think, yeah.
yeah, keep voting.
So, okay.
All right, now,
What firms are, I know we just voted, but, so now we're not gonna recommend it.
we're recommending an IP.
we're running it like it.
And,
We're
but
not doing
Jay, Jay will allow the planning board to speak to this one before we do,
Okay.
because of that, right?
Okay.
And we will have the opportunity to. But we're gonna, so I will go back to the list, because we need to set this. You don't need anyone to write up Article 1, Article 2, prior unpaid bills, I'll write that one up. Article 3, budget transfers, I'm happy to do that. Article 4 is the capital expenditures other than borrowing.
The town administrator wrote these up for us.
No, we have to take a position, he's sort of explaining it, but.
I don't have to do it for.
Okay.
Well,
Town clerk update fee schedule. Anyone wanna write that one up?
I can do that.
Like, select board appropriate funds for NCTV,
I can do that too. I don't know.
okay,
I don't
that's
know how
fine,
many you take, but
you know as much about it as anyone right now. But,
I love the
community preservation, Pond Street, ADA, pickleball. Who wants to write that one up?
I nominate Ken.
that's hard.
This is lousy hard.
I will write this one.
we have the same person, for all three of them.
Where I will do the first two, but then the baseball field, I'm gonna ask someone who's still got someone playing baseball.
I can do them.
You have someone playing baseball or something?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
all right, so doing that. So 10, historic commission.
Make Jonathan do it.
Make Johnson do it.
I can do it.
All right, 11 is the MacArthur Way one. I will write that one up.
say that.
Planning board revolving fund open space, that's the one we're waiting on, correct?
Yeah. Correct.
I'd like to carry that one when we get the explanation, unless someone's got it. I feel somewhat strongly with this because it was one of my issues when I was on the conservation commission, is we don't have any money.
You had me at
13, mobile home use zoning bylaw. Update. 14, affordable housing inclusionary development. Looking at you, Mr. Garrett, you haven't taken them again.
I had the historical commission.
Oh, you did?
It was very in depth. I think I'm rolling out Frank Lloyd Wright. Many of this houses weren't built until the 70s.
Yeah, I'm Frank. This is way outside of my wheelhouse.
I mean, I don't mind doing it, just saying. We voted to IP it because we felt there was a legal issue with this one bit of language at 350, but the rest of it is well outside of my normal wheelhouse, so.
What I was gonna say is that I think it was more than it too, though. Your issue was,
A issue,
but it wasn't the only.
no, okay, so.
Ken, if you wanna do the mobile home one, I'll do that one.
Alright, yeah, the mobile home one's pretty. I think that was a lot more concise, we voted not to do that because. There's talk of occupancy and recreational vehicles, you can't occupy vehicles, so. this-
Lack of clarity
Lack
and
of clarity.
what it actually applies to and how it's gonna be applied.
Shorter, probably better on that one.
Yeah,
Citizens petition, Kevin actually already volunteered.
correct, alright, so I got the 13 and 4.
I don't think I have any. I know I don't have any, so if anyone has one you don't want.
They were like this.
Yeah,
You know, I only did 3, I think.
no, you have a ton.
Do you have 6?
You want them all.
Do you wanna do it?
Great.
You,
There's a-
Jonathan, well, you don't, I don't.
How is that going to
I actually kind of like to do the first one, just because I'm the chair, so, but if you wanna do 3 and 4. The budget transfers and the capital expenditure.
I voted against the budget transfer.
Oh, shit. Oops. Oh, darn.
That's fine, I'm happy to do 3 and 4, and I can't
Okay.
control myself.
All right.
Oh, I have two of them, I have two of them, they can work.
Oh, wait, no, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
what's the police stuff, so.
Yeah, let him do that.
So which, 2 and 3?
You're doing,
Oh, there's-
no, I'm doing 2, you're doing 3.
3?
Yeah. I apologize to all our viewers in TV land for using
That shouldn't be said. Find out who
Did it get edited at Google? Was that the-
No,
Not at work.
might be the budget transfer to NCPP.
This isn't live.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, it's fine.
I'm like, 6.
we have no minutes to approve, we will have a couple sets for before town meeting.
Last weekend this week.
Before town meeting.
Those
at
are
that meeting.
helpful.
We will be meeting, I think we should meet at 6 before town meeting, because I think we may have some discussions, depending on what comes back to us. And I might bring pizza, you guys are nice to me, rest of the meeting. And now I'll call for a motion to adjourn. So, second. I'll take a roll call, Joyce Terrio.
Aye.
Thank you. Don Reynolds, yes. Ken, yes. Dave, look at Gary, yes. Ken Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Melissa Seer.
Yeah.
I want to vote.
We are adjourned. Thank you, Michael.
I'll sit here.